Hi, I'm David from In Life Web Design and Digital Marketing. If you haven't checked out my last video, have a look at that. And that was a few top tips you can do for your business during this coronavirus lockdown period. If you're finding a bit of extra time on your hands, you can hit the ground running when you get out there. Now, something else you can do to get out there and get ready for this is writing blog articles. So this video is going to be my top tip and advice on writing effective blog articles for search engine optimization. And not just any old boring blog article, ones that are actually going to get found and drive sales. It's going to be a very quick guide, very simple to do. So the first step is think what you want to be found for. So again, take that third person step into your customer's mindset and think, what would they punch into Google to look for me? And think outside the box. So they wouldn't just be typing in, for example, plumbers. You might be looking for plumbers in Staffordshire, or plumbers in the West Midlands, or plumbers in my area, or a specific brand of a boiler that they want, anything like that. Think of these keywords that are actually going to drive a return on investment for you, going to be a good form of income for you, and actually people will be looking for. So once you've got those nailed, next step, go and punch them into Google and see what comes up. Then you'll see a list of pages that come up, and look at the pages that are actually websites and not things that are on like Yale.com or any sort of actual brand websites. Look at actual company websites that come up and look at those pages and see what they've written, so you can have a look what words they've used in there and what they might have done to get found. And that gives you a good idea then of what words you can write and keywords to innovate on that, so you can get found yourself in that area. And if you don't find anything up, try typing them in, I don't know, your services in London or in other areas, so you can see people who are being found for that. And then obviously just replace that word with your own location. And that's a great way to actually do a bit of initial research. So the next step in then is actually writing the blog. So there's little things you can do in that which will help you get found more. So I'm going to show you through that now. If you don't have a blog at the moment, they're easy to add on, or we can help you set up a website that does have a blog feature within it. The most common one out there is Wordpress, and it's the most easiest to use. So I'm going to show you through writing a blog article in Wordpress. But if you do have a similar system, there'll be similar edit systems, there'll be similar options that you can find in yours that do match what I'm doing here, hopefully. If not, then obviously have a word with us. So here we are in the blog edition area. I'm going to add a new one here. And then the first thing I'm going to do is give it a title. So for example, your service in your area. Now, you can obviously enter something as simple as that, like I mentioned, plumbers in Staffordshire. Now, this is a great title for a blog article because it's going to be the title of this page. So it's going to be a key thing Google looks at. But you've also got to try and remember, it's got to be friendly for users as well. So it's also not just writing it for Google, it's got to make sense for the users. So it could be plumbing services in Staffordshire for local clients, as an example. And then that will then form what's called the H1 tag of your page if your blog is set up correctly. So that is the first thing Google look at, so it knows this page is about this subject. It'll also be the title of your URL, which is another thing Google looks at and says, this is about that subject. So here now, you would type in all your articles. So after having a look at other articles out there that are similar, you might want to get the word in there probably about 4 or 5, maybe 6 maximum times the keyword that you want to be found for, and make sure it's in the title. So you might have a first title at the top there, but then you'd have a header 2 title. So I'm going to create that now. Plumbers in Staffordshire. Oops, capitalize it, Staffordshire. And then your text content here, blah, 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 Staffordshire plumbers, blah, blah, blah. You get the gist. So now you can do options in here to make this part an actual header 2 title. So we've got a little drop down there, and you can see we've got it as a heading 2. And then this is the second thing Google looks at. So header 1, the page is about this. Heading 2, okay, the page is also about this. And then as you carry on writing your content down there, you want about 300 to 500 words, really, so Google's actually going to find it and rank it. And then keep separating it with titles. So I'd probably get another title in there, so another title with the word plumbers in, and make that the next one down. Click this drop down again, where it says paragraph, and I'll drop down and choose that as a heading 3 title. And then carry on writing it again. And you might want to add the heading 2, heading 3, and possibly heading 4 title in there. And each of those titles get your word in there. It doesn't have to be the same word every time. So it could, for example, that one I've just got the word plumbers in there. The next one could just have the word Staffordshire in there. As long as you've got a nice mix, and then throughout the text, as I say, get your keyword in there maybe 4 to 6 times throughout the text as well. And then once you've done that, if you've got plugins that you can add on to your site, if you are using something like WordPress, a great one is this Yoast SEO. So then you can use something like focus key phrase. So you'll enter your key phrase in there, and it'll give you a scoring on how many times it should appear in there. And then you can also do other further edits within that. So it'll tell you the readability, if it reads well, and so forth. And then once we've done that, another good idea is to add an image to it. So I'm going to add an image to the top, add media. We'll just add that image there. And then obviously we've got a nice image on there now, but the other thing that you might want to do, and I would recommend doing, is adding what's called an alt tag. Now, alt tags tell Google what this image is. So again, for your alt tag, if we click on the little pencil edit that I clicked on, you've got this alternative text, and that's the alt tag. So for the alternative text, we'll put plumbers in Staffordshire. So now Google knows there's an image on this page called plumbers in Staffordshire. It's mentioned on there a fair few times. We pretty much know what this page is about. So if I click update on that, then that image now is telling Google it's about plumbers in Staffordshire, and we've got that in there throughout. Don't go too overboard on it, because if you completely spam it with keywords, you might think, oh, this is a good idea, I'll just put that keyword continuously throughout. Google see that as a negative. They know you're trying to trick it. So you've really got to get the word, as I say, maybe 4 to 6 times in an alt tag, a few times mentioned in the header 1, header 2 tags, and also make sure it's in the title tag up there, which will, if your website's set up correctly, it will form the header 1 tag. And once you've done that, you can click publish, 300 to 500 words, as I say, and you've got a good blog article there written for search engine optimization. Now, the one thing you can do, again, as I say, if you've got some spare time on your hands, is you could write a series of these and not have them all span out at once, because if you're using something like WordPress, on the side here, you've got an option that says publish immediately. If I click edit on that, I could say, well, actually, that one I'll publish today, and then the next one you write, you could say, well, actually, I want that to go out in May. And you could sit there and write 1 a month for the entire year, or 2 a month for the entire year. If you can get probably 2 or 3 a month out, I'd say max, then that's a really good option, but just try not to replicate them. So don't do them all about the same keyword. Once you've got your key phrase, the ones written out for your key phrases you want to be found for, then that's enough, and just spam them to go out over the coming weeks or months. And you can pre-schedule them there, as I say, so you can set the date there, click OK, and then that would automatically post it on that day. So you've already sat back, you've done your work, and it's ready to go out. So that's a great way of actually preparing yourself for the future, and using this time to actually get some blog articles that are going to come out when everything's back to normal. They're going to span out and do you a favor in the long term through your search engine optimization. The last tip is just make sure your website is actually being ranked and found by Google to begin with. You can do that by just going to Google and typing submitting a URL to Google, and then it'll bring up on how to do that, and you can set up a Google Webmaster account where you can link it all up, and it will actually then come in and make sure it's looking at your website, and you're not just doing this for no reason. So that's the final top tip there. And obviously we can do all these services and help you out with this if needed. And if you don't have a blog on your website, then speak to us, and it's a great way of not only staying in touch with your customers, but also getting found on Google. And as I say, it's important to not just write blog articles for this reason, because your actual clients and your customers that are going to read them will think this is a bit weird. Break it up with blog articles about what you're doing as a business, things you might be doing for charity. They say to tell, sell with blog articles. So you're always telling a story. So one of these, for example, plumbers in Staffordshire, might be about clients you've worked with in Staffordshire and have helped out in that area. So it's informative at the same time, and it's readable and not just written for Google. So there we have it. If you have any more questions off the back of that, then feel free to comment on this post wherever you may see it, on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, or Twitter, and we'll always be happy to help. And thanks for listening, and stay tuned for more top tips coming from both myself and Chris, who is our SEO guru at InLife. Thanks, and until next time.